Oh, well.
Business shirt.
Business shirt. I know. I showed up to a meeting yesterday in a t-shirt and I got the hint.
Welcome to the bank. No tie?
No tie. No tie yet.
No. So tell me all about it.
It's a lot, as usually when you start anything new. There's a lot of new names. There's a lot of projects that are on the go.
Yeah.
And I moved to, like, my dad moved out.
Yeah.
Now I reclaimed the third floor. You might remember those pictures from early Jan.
Yeah.
So it's tough to take everything in. It's obviously, as one would expect, they are doing the best that they can, as any big organization is trying to do, and yet not all of the things are flying as they could have been. So my job is just to get myself ramped up as quickly as possible to actually understand what the heck we're talking about, because just like I started with RBC in 2017, I think I showed you I had like a whole page full of acronyms.
Yeah.
And so this is no different, because this is a completely different team, completely different department, and I haven't reached out to anyone who I worked with before yet. Neither do I have any inclination, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to say that, hey, I'm back.
Well, you won't naturally be interfacing with those folks.
No, it's completely different. Like, this is not. Maybe the only way to interact with those folks is through some shared services, maybe.
Right.
And that would be the extent of it. So that's it's so far it's been light, but I'm getting copied on more and more emails, and as they come in, it's kind of like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
What is that thing?
Oh yeah.
What is this supposed to do?
Yeah.
Why is it not doing what it's supposed to do?
Yeah. What language is this in?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh yeah, this is what it's like to get 300 emails a day.
I think I'll soon come to that.
Yeah. Is it all email, or do you have Slack or other?
No, Slack is only approved for certain teams, and I'm beginning to remember. So I have a different setup right now. So I'm talking to you from my computer.
Okay.
Because everything with the bank is like, everything's locked up.
Yeah.
It's so yeah.
Cool.
But at least I'm, because it's interesting. It's not that like any job, it's stressful because you don't know what's coming and what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And because I tend to be a responsible human being. It's kind of like, it's like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the first time for me onboarding virtually. And I only had a couple of interactions with my boss, and he's been bringing me up to speed, and I've been just writing pages and pages of notes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I got my mouse pad now. Great. Like that. Oh, look at this.
Fancy nameplate.
I know. This was my first nameplate in Canada when I worked for Nielsen.
Oh yeah.
And I asked them, like, can I take this with me? And they said, yeah, sure. We're not gonna have anyone with that name here.
That's funny. Well, I've got one of my nameplates up there, and I've got like badges from National Grocers Retail. So these are like early 2000 when I had glasses and stuff. It's funny. There's a guy I worked with at Sobeys his name was Craig Golly. He'd been there, I don't know, like 28 years or 25 years or something like this. And his security badge, it still had his picture from like when he first started. And now he's like this, he was this young guy with lots of hair, and
Yep.
but he's an old guy, bald. But his badge still has his picture from when he was like 25 or something. He's like, what are you doing? Get a new picture, buddy.
Oh man.
Yeah, those used to be huge things, eh? Back in the day, was you get your name on the door, or
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I had a hard time adjusting to Loyalty One with the new office and not an assigned space.
Mhm.
Um,
I know. I was thinking about that because well, nobody tells anyone, but if you've been in the workplace for long enough, you begin to understand that most of the open space initiatives are really driven by the fact that companies want to save money,
yeah,
and not so much as employees' well-being or desire to be blah blah blah, all of that nonsense
yeah.
that people say. So yeah.
I've always had the impression too that it's like a passive aggressive way of putting everybody out in the open so that you're not wasting time playing solitaire on your computer or on your phone or whatever. Like everyone can see what you're doing, so it naturally like dissuades you from doing stuff like that. Although, the people that would do stuff like that anyway, they just go and book a boardroom or find a spot where no one can see them, and
Yeah, and
they do it anyway. So it's funny.
Yeah.
But I used to like it. Like I liked having a cubicle. I liked having like the pictures of my kids, and I don't know, and your stuff. I like having my stuff around me.
Yeah.
And
I
then-
never liked cubicles, but I really had an appreciation for the office.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was in a cubicles better than non-assigned space, but office is the king. Like,
Yeah.
and especially I had an office where I had like a little round meeting table.
Mhm.
So I could fit, like 4 people. So I had to have like vendor meetings in my office or my team meetings. Like I wouldn't have to book a room. Big whiteboard.
Sweet.
That was the setup.
Well, those days are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different dynamic. It, remains to be seen how it all plays out.
Yeah. I was thinking about you yesterday at like this time, thinking like, you must be exhausted. Like it's just a different, I don't know, at least that would have been my impression. It's just like a different level of concentration, and I don't know.
It is. It's a much different vibe, because you're essentially, for better or for worse, you're always on.
Yeah.
And you're kind of watching your emails and making sure you respond. I haven't yet figured out how because at Pressimo we used to have a culture, at least I know that we had this notion that you respond as soon as you receive an email, and that was normal. But in the bank when I first came, that wasn't the case. People had just too many meetings to respond to anything.
Yeah.
So basically, it remains to be seen what kind of culture is here. So how fast do people expect response?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a bit of a it's not draining yet, not yet, but it's definitely is. It's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Very, very different dynamics.
Did you sleep well last night, or was your mind just like?
Actually, I went to bed really early last night.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I went to bed very early last night, but I woke up for the first time. I woke up at it's like 6:15, which doesn't normally happen.
Right. And
Yeah,
are you
so-
jammed with meetings already? Like,
Not yet. No, not yet. There's the email about me coming on board just went out today.
okay.
And what I didn't realize is tomorrow is a day of reconciliation and something. And it's tough because everyone wants to say it's a holiday, but it's far from that. And
It's like a,
yeah, it's a terrible thing that happened. But the point is, the bank celebrates every event. So even, what was it,
Yeah.
Remembrance Day? That's
Canada set to mark First National Day of Truth and Reconciliation.
Yeah.
So you get a holiday already.
Yeah, I know. Only in this particular case, it's you don't get paid.
Oh.
So that's
Oh yeah, you don't get paid when you don't work.
No, it's
But you also don't have to work.
that's true. That's true. That's a good way of looking at it. I agree. So it's great. So far, so good. It's weird, Greg. I have to say, it's very weird how this makes me feel, but it's new. It's new, and I don't. I can't tell you that I'm excited, and I can't tell you that. I guess maybe it's maturity, maybe it's just the situation, but I'm taking it day by day.
Yeah. Good.
It does though present a challenge, because previously I would have worked on some of the stuff that I deemed important for the business and what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And now everything gets that's relegated to kind of evening time, or even, well, yeah, I guess evening time is the only time that I would be able to work on anything.
Right.
So
And your boss is okay? Like
the boss is fine. Yeah, my boss seems to be a very reasonable human being, and he's pulling a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And he's been kind enough to give me the time, because like, I mean, him doing the work that he's doing and also kind of onboarding a person like myself, saying, oh, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Tell me everything that you know. Yeah, that's not fun for him, because he also has to do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
But here we are, working at a proper job.
Cool.
Oh man, Greg.
Well, you might have a little more jump in your step after first payday.
Probably, yeah. I concur. So, how are you? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a couple coaching calls yesterday that went well.
Mhm.
And then I had a call this morning with one of my peer coaches to do some coaching with me, which also went well. And she's in Croatia.
Mhm.
Yeah, just been plugging away. It's funny because today I meant to do a bunch of work on the app for Joanne.
Yeah. Oh,
And I
dude.
just didn't get around to it. It's almost like I'm avoiding it.
That's not good. Why do you think it is? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think just trying to unravel the mysteries of Glide I finding it frustrating a little bit.
Just the navigation, or in general the app?
More so, I'm still figuring out how it works, like in terms of how to get it to do the things I want it to do.
Okay.
And then how, once I figure out how it can do things, modifying how I would have preferred to have done things to fit the way they actually can be done.
Oh, I see.
But then also it's not very friendly in terms of iterating, from the standpoint of like, you can't easily change things and then change them back.
Mhm.
And I still don't really have a good handle on, because I basically was creating a clone of different things and then repurposing it,
Yeah.
not realizing though that when you drill down into the next, like into the detail level of the screen, I think you have to check something that says like unique settings for each page or something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when you change that page, it changes it all the places where that page exists. So I inadvertently did a bunch of work overriding other work that I had done.
Oh no.
Anyway,
That must be new.
it's all part of the learning process, but
Shit. Yeah, that's not fun.
and
That is not fun.
and it's almost like when you do a new element or add something new, it populates. I don't know where it gets the default cell, like, you know, it refers to a tab or a table and it defaults everything versus it just being blank.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Again, I'm just learning to deal with that as well. So it's one of those things though that like it's you can't just work on it an hour here or an hour there. Like you really got to block 2 or 3 hours of your time because it takes you, or at least it takes me, probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes just to wrap my head around where I'm at again before you can start actually being productive with it. So
yes, there is that. Yes, there is. Like I found that when you're just working on it day after day,
yeah,
it's fine. It's absolutely fine. You kind of remember, and you remember what steps you took yesterday to get to where you are. Blah blah blah. But like even when I stepped away from it, and then you were showing me some of the stuff, it doesn't naturally like, oh yeah.
Well, there's been a few times where, like I've found something or a bug or didn't work quite right, and I went and fixed it, and then only to go back to another section and realize I just screwed that up somehow. So
Yeah,
anyway, it's
must be it is. But is it coming along? Is it like
yeah, I think so. I'm getting close. I mean, I've there's a bunch of stuff I have to go back to Joanne and get more details on, because like there's kind of different layers of things, and then she sent me pictures of other products that she wants, and of course it's like mugs or tumblers or something that they're engraving, but there's like colors, right? So it's like each so you can't, it's not just one code. It's like you need an item code for each color to be they need to order, I want 5 pink with this inscription on it, and I want 5 blue or 5 purple, or I don't know, whatever it is. It's just like you actually have to treat each item as a separate item.
okay? So how?
I mean, you don't have to. You could create items with colors and like add some complexities to it, but
So it's funny. What you're describing right now is a microcosm of the same problems that I'm going to be facing. Is scope creep. When you do the MVP, an avalanche of new requests, like when people get to touch and feel something, it's like, oh yeah, I see it. And now how about we do this, this, and this? And it's like, whoa.
yeah.
And how do you deal with requests for something that you delivered versus the backlog that you had before? So what do you prioritize? It's man. Just one is fairly contained, and there's one person with one person versus the other is like teams on teams.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to get like a version done that they can do some testing on. Like I already sent her a link to it to make sure it worked on their iPads, which it does, which is kind of step 1 checked off. And then the next thing I got to test is just the flow of, and if it makes sense to them, how to use it. It is kind of, I don't know, it's a bit clunky because basically they're going to put in the quantities that they want produced. And then the store that's doing the production has to go in and say, okay, what needs to be produced today? And then they have to flag the thing. They have to make a decision. Okay, what am I going to produce? And they got to be, I don't know, mindful of the fact that, like, if they go, well, I'll make 20 of these, and they check it off that they're making 20, they actually have to make the 20. Like it's as if it's like
said and done.
Yeah. They can't just make 5 and then, they get distracted with a customer or something. And then, because all of a sudden the system, I mean, there is a place where you go and you put in what you've produced and then it does a calculation, but I don't know, there's a lot of little nuances like that. And then when I say it's clunky, it's because then you have to, okay, once you produce it, you have to go in and say, okay, I produced these for this order in this quantity. And then then the next flag is, okay, now it's ready to ship. And then you prepare the shipment. And then once it's shipped, then you have to check it off that it's been shipped. And then the store who gets it has to then go in and check off that they've received it. And then that triggers it to then email the customer if it's a product for an end customer versus just inventory for the store to sell. And then when the customer comes in and collects it, then it has to be checked again that it's been actually given to the customer. And each one of those things is an opportunity to forget, to not do it properly, to check the wrong thing. I don't know. It could get to be a bit of a shit show quickly. And then, of course, I start thinking about, well, Glide has functionality where you can scan barcodes and stuff. And so then I start thinking about, should I be building this to be kind of like the way Amazon or Purelator or whatever, like you have to print a label and you scan the label and then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I can't build something.
You wish you had me to help you.
Yeah, so it's I'm trying.
Actually,
I got to try to.
Barcode scanning is an interesting thing because it. I mean, you can have steps as barcodes.
Yeah.
But that would mean that you would have to have a device in hand. So if she's talking about an iPad that she has, that might not be conducive. Yeah.
No, when you get into doing that, then you got to be able to generate labels and I don't know. It's I'm trying to make it simple, but it's not as simple a process as you would think, just because there's so many steps and handoffs and things to check and so on. So anyway, we'll see. I mean, it may be, there may be an opportunity just to make it much simpler where it doesn't do all the things that they're thinking. Like it may, I don't know. I've usually landed somewhere in the middle between like full automation and full manual, that at some point it's not worth the extra effort to make it 100% automated because there's nuances or there's things that could go wrong, and it's better just to have them, manually do some stuff.
Interesting.
But tomorrow I got a couple calls, one in the morning and then one in the afternoon. Other than that, I'm just working on that app all day.
Yeah. It's funny how every time you think about automation, at first it seems like, yeah, sure, of course you can do this automatically. And then boom.
Yeah. Well, it's like everything we've been through with our courses and our email lists and things, right? Yes. Like when you're setting it up, it's like, oh, this is great. But then you change something. Like I remember you had something the other day where it was like with your wife's email list, right? Like you
one thing
innocuously change one little thing and it breaks the whole chain.
Yeah, it does.
So it's that's the web you weave in terms of like connecting all these things together, and then you change something without really in the moment thinking like, oh yeah, this is something's connected to this. And
or you might even contemplate like what is connected to this, but then you still lose track of it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have to say it's a very interesting project. It's a very interesting project.
It was good. I mean, I think I'm one thing it's kind of helping me decide too, and which I'm figuring out as I go along with everything, is like, what is it that I actually want to be doing and what do I don't want to be doing?
So what does this fall into?
Well, I think this falls into the not wanting to do this, at least not like not as a core thing that I do, like as a one-off here and there, and dabbling with it and doing simple kind of stuff. I think it might be something I'm into, but I don't know. And maybe some of that it might be Glide. I mean, it's funny because I spent my whole career building stuff like this, not using Glide, obviously, but I've made applications and things with Access since Access 1999 or whatever was the version I was on when I started.
Yeah, with forms and whatnot. I was never friendly with Access. I told you that. I did the same thing with Excel. Like I had macros kick off, other macros and everything, like shit.
Well, the cool thing with Access, like especially when I was at Loblaws, I built a crazy macro that would run and update tables, and it would literally take like 8 to 10 hours to run.
Jesus.
And so when I left the office at whatever 6:30 at night, I would hit run, and when I came in the morning, most of the time it was done. Sometimes it would fail, but for the most part it was done. And the IT actually liked it that way because they were okay with me running stuff overnight, because generally people weren't working on that stuff. So and the way Access, the thing they hated about Access was the way it pulls data across the network. It's a memory hog.
Oh, okay.
Like it basically goes and retrieves the whole data set
and keeps it in
and keeps it in memory, and then it finds what you want versus just going and getting the records you want.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go make some dinner.
I'm gonna go eat some dinner.
I got hockey tonight. It's our league actually is starting tonight. It's the first night, and I think we've lost 3 or 4 players because they don't have vaccination. They don't have vaccination receipts because they're not vaccinated. So, our captain was scrambling last night to try and find a few guys to come play. So we'll see how many show up tonight. But
that's terrible. So many levels. Oh well.
I got my dad's thing today. I phoned public health. It was actually great. I was only on hold for like 5 minutes. The lady came on. She was super friendly. Gave her some information. She emailed me his thing, and boom, done.
So they did have his information.
Well, she said something about something wasn't in the system properly. I didn't really catch what it was, but I gave her his health card number and whatever, and she's like, "Oh yeah, here it is." And she goes, does he have an email address? And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, is it better if I just send it to you? And I said, yeah, well, he'll just have to send it to me anyway to print it for him. So I might as well just send it to me. And she's like, yeah, here you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she identify you at least?
Yeah. Well, she sent me a link, and then I had to put in his health card number into that link. So it's kind of secure from the standpoint that if you don't have the health card number, you couldn't do it.
And even if it doesn't make any sense. Like even if you had somebody else's health card number, that you would only have retrieved their, it's still their picture on the card.
Yeah. So anyway, I was pleasantly surprised that wasn't. I was expecting like a 2.5 hour
It's a good thing you hung up yesterday.
Yeah,
It
totally.
would have been very frustrating to spend all that time knowing that today it only took you 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the lesson learned there too is like, obviously Monday is probably the backlog of everyone who couldn't get a hold of them over the weekend or whatever.
Yeah, most likely.
But all right.
Okay.
So
Nice
do this
catching
again
up with you.
tomorrow.
I'll do this again tomorrow.
All right, man.
See you, buddy.
See you. Bye.
Okay.